Hello, welcome to the Peter Repeater, episode 16. This is Peter and I am repeating myself, hopefully not too much. I'm just hopefully saying that this works and hopefully I can give you the latest news on the coronavirus and give you my thoughts and then see if there's anything left over to chat about. So I'm pleased to say that the live chat is up and running, so everything's working on my end, and I'll just get on my tablet, get the news up, and just read what's been going on today. The last time I did a podcast was a few days ago, so there's been some updates. It just seems like I'll drink my cup of tea here. It just seems like more people have been dying, which has been a bit unfortunate, and some young people have been dying. So that's a bit worrying that everyone might not be safe from the coronavirus. But I'll just look specifically about the news today. So there's been the Health Secretary, Matt Hancock, who did get the virus himself, is had some few ideas about the situation. So I'll read those out in a minute. But first of all, I'll just give you a summary over what's been happening. Okay, so summary: UK Health Secretary Matt Hancock sets a goal of 100,000 tests per day by the end of the month. Now, there's been a lot of talk that the UK haven't done enough in testing, so to get up to that number would be quite an achievement, and it will help tackle the virus, because if you know where the virus is, you can then start to manage it and try to start to contain the virus and stop it spreading even further. And if you know you've got the virus, then you can self-isolate and you can be safe from infecting others. Whereas if you don't know if you've got the virus, then you can continue passing it on. So it's important, particularly the NHS staff, to have as many people with the virus to know about it so they can protect it from spreading any further. So that's good. UK health experts have expressed frustration at low virus testing so far, like I said. Now, this is about the people dying. A total of 2,921 people have now died from the coronavirus in the UK. Last I heard, over 500 people died in a day, which is quite a lot. I remember when the total got to 100. I remember when only 2 people died. Now it's 2,921. So, yeah, so that's interesting. And then in the US, new weekly unemployment claims hit a record high of 6.6 million, which is quite a lot, quite a proportion of the population there. So there may be unemployment in the future as well. So there might be in the future, say, half the population are unemployed because they've lost their jobs because businesses haven't been up and running. So that's a worry that could be of a potential concern, using 2 words that mean the same thing in the sentence there. Anyway, in the US, I've said that. The US Democratic Party is postponing its presidential convention, which I think is a good idea, because you don't want to really do politics alongside at the same time as all of this bad news going on. Spain's death toll has passed 10,000 and nearly 900,000 jobs have been lost. That's quite a lot of people, so that's a concern for them. The number of infections globally will reach 1 million within days, the head of the World Health Organization says. So things seem to be spreading, that more people are getting the virus, and hopefully we can try and delay the pandemic and stop it being so bad so the NHS can cope with the capacity and stuff like that. I'm sure you've heard lots of things like that before, flattening the curve. So what did Matt Hancock, the Health Secretary, say? So there's a 5-pillar testing strategy so including the 100,000 tests per day by the end of April. It also includes swabs in labs run by Public Health England, using commercial partners to increase swab testings to see who has the virus, introducing antibody tests to detect whether people have had the virus, and introducing monitoring to establish how the infection is spreading through the population. Sounds like this could have been a good idea 4 weeks ago, but never mind. The UK has bought 17.5 million antibody tests, subject to them working. So hopefully they work. More than £13 billion of the NHS debt will be written off. Mr. Hancock said this would put the NHS in a stronger position. So good that the NHS is in debt. Don't really know what that means. He said testing for antibodies could be done at home with a finger prick and deliver results in as little as 20 minutes. Okay, I don't know how that works. He also said NHS staff who needed a test would get a test, adding that this would be done absolutely before the end of the month. Okay, so they will get the test when it's all too late and everyone's died, really. But never mind, we're not going to think about the bad implications of it all. What else? I'm trying to read this and we've got people clapping for the NHS. Anyway, he defended his decision to prioritise testing for patients over NHS staff, saying, "I believe anyone in my shoes would have taken the same decision." Okay. Oh, that's great. Coronavirus survivor celebrates his 104th birthday. That's crazy. He's also lived through the Spanish flu, the Great Depression, and the World War II. That's cool. He's got a hat saying World War II veteran. Not many people can wear that a hat. Wow. Yeah. So, what are we gonna applause for frontline workers set to ring out across UK. The sound of applause, cheers, and spoons clanking against pans is set to ring out in the UK at 8 o'clock British summer time, as people show their support for those working on the front line. So there's the Clap for Carers creator who, created the event. So that's pretty cool. Last week she told the BBC she hoped it would create a positive boost for the frontline workers and let neighbours know what we are together in this. Know that we are together in this, okay. And an Instagram post ahead of this week's applause she wrote, "Let us tonight say thank you to all that are out at work so we can stay in." Very good. She's getting some brownie points from the country there. National hero. Not achieving anything in particular, but clapping for people to help support them. So if only I was the clapper origin person. I would leave out my thoughts. Just clapping doesn't technically do anything, but never mind. Clapping is good for the boost of the healthcare workers that hear the clap. So I would appreciate an applause if I was NHS. So I suppose it's a good thing, but I'm not so keen on clapping in public because it's a bit daunting. So 100,000 people per day testing, hopefully, but it's a bit difficult. But that's good. 104-year-old not dying, who got coronavirus, celebrating his birthday. What other news are there? Premier League players should take a pay cut. Yeah, that makes sense. They get paid millions. They can survive if they get paid thousands. But in all likelihood, they get paid millions still. Ministers working to overcome personal protective equipment. UK NHS capacity significantly above demand. I'll believe that when I see it, which I won't, because it's not. We don't know how bad this is going to get. Never mind. Italy infections continue to stabilise despite rising death toll. That's not promising. Another 760 people died in Italy over the past day, bringing the total number of deaths to almost 14,000. That's not good. I'm confident hospital supplies will not run out. That won't happen. This is very impartial news that I provide to the YouTube. I just read it and say nope, nope, based on no evidence, just thinking things usually fair. Like that graph when you've got the nice dotted line of the NHS capacity and we're neatly underneath it. It's ridiculous. It's not as if like NHS has spare capacity on usually that much anyway. Anyway, said that twice, right? Peter repeats up here all day. Yeah, so lots of testing. Daily death toll may not fall for a few weeks. Well, that's not promising. I want to see the daily death toll. I suppose technically it doesn't matter too much. Well, it does matter, but it shouldn't really impact my life knowing how many people die. It's all about the people who die, it's not how many people die. Okay, so the conference, 16,000 deaths forecast for New York. That's a lot of people. Sweden is choosing not to impose such tight restrictions and keeping restaurants open and stuff. Was because of the need for a long-term approach. Because like closing everything down doesn't necessarily solve the situation. And this is what Sweden people say, Swedish Prime Minister, I think, Deputy Prime Minister maybe. This is a marathon, it's not a sprint, and any measures also need to be sustained for a very long time in our view. They added that there was already strong evidence that Swedes were following existing guidance, with large numbers working from home and significant drop in commuter and visitor numbers to the country's largest cities. She said that all government's decisions were based on science and expertise from the Public Health Agency, and said that Sweden was closely following the advice of World Health Organization, WHO. Okay, daily death toll figure. What do you mean? This is ridiculous. This line here on BBC News, the daily death figure was 569. Not much changed from yesterday. Apart from the fact another 500 plus people died, and all their families and loved ones will be without them for the rest of their lives, and life is cut short, and there's all this pain and suffering. But no, not much has changed from yesterday, apparently. If one person died, that would be a big change from the day before. But instead, to put our hopes up and to put our worrying at ease, the fact that the same amount of people have died is a good sign, apparently. The daily death figure was 569, not much change from yesterday. Football clubs came under fire for furloughing staff while continuing to pay players high salaries. Yeah, I agree, that's a bit silly. British Airlines is expected to announce it will suspend around 36,000 staff because of the crisis. And a third prisoner in the UK has died from contracting coronavirus in Cambridgeshire. Not a useful statistic there. But I suppose in a prison, the disease will spread like wildfire, or like coronavirus, being that the new term. Shocking speed of US job losses. Roughly 10 million Americans have lost their job in the last 2 weeks. That rate is unprecedented. That's a popular word. We don't use precedented very much because I don't know what that means, but unprecedented, never been precedented before. I'm good with English, I swear. Anyway, unprecedented. So that means that it's not precedented. No, it means I'm so bad that it's not expected and couldn't possibly expect, and it's currently bad. Okay, India's 3-week lockdown, due to finish on 14th of April, will end in phases. The country's Prime Minister Narendra Modi says the staggered re-emergence was announced amid fears that a second wave of infections could sweep through the country of 1.3 billion. And there's some more news. Yeah, people are getting the virus, people are locking down their countries, and everyone's staying at home. Some people are working from home, good for them, they've still got jobs. I'm about to study, this didn't appear on the news by the way, but I'm about to study a computing course in September. So I've got that to look forward to. So I wasn't planning on having a job in the meantime after just finishing a job. So the coronavirus has come at a good time for me, a bad time for the world. And also, if I get the coronavirus, it'll stop being a convenient disruption to the world, considering it doesn't disrupt my life. It will start to be a considerable issue if I'm coughing up stuff. So hopefully that won't happen. Hopefully the world more or less figures itself out. It might not do. Hopefully the suffering is minimised. Might not do. And hopefully I don't get the coronavirus. Might not get it. Might not happen. Right. So that's the news at a summary, and see if there's an interesting conversation topic, and we'll go into the my thoughts. Like, this is a structured podcast. It's not. I talk as much as I can, and then my tea gets cold. Is really the issue here. Really, what happens? My cup of tea getting cold is not the main focus of this podcast, but it is a focus of my life generally. So what I can say about stuff, yes, so there's an interesting situation with the government's control on our lives, because we're told that we live in a democracy, and you have a sense that we get to decide how the world works, and we have influence. We put our vote in a ballot, and it goes off, and it makes decisions, and we're in control. When really, even if we were in control, we're only one out of millions, so we can't by ourselves change the whole world. Although the only way to change the whole world is for all of us to change by ourselves, so that's another thing. But really, you're just choosing out of two options, Labour, Conservative, for someone else to make the decisions. So you sort of feel like you're in control, but you're sort of moving pieces around on a board that you have no team is for you. It's other people's teams. So you never get to win or lose. You never have any influence over the game of politics. It just sort of happens, and you get to haphazardly move the pieces, but you don't really have influence. So this whole idea of democracy doesn't actually mean we have much self-governance or power locally or ourselves. So these big decisions, like staying in our home, I didn't get to choose that, but it was enforced on us. And things can just be sprung upon us, like fines on the streets and being arrested for not adhering to social distancing rules, and all these things that we don't fully have an impact on, and are just sprung upon us. And it just makes you think, how much control do we have in a so-called democracy? I can't believe I said that. Anyway, how much power do we have when things can just be said? Boris Johnson can just tell us, and that's how it is. So he's just with his hands on the desk, and before he was coughing with the coronavirus, he told us we're going to stay inside, protect the NHS, save lives. And I didn't get to decide that in the democratic world we live in. We collectively didn't decide it. We were just told it. And even though that it was probably the best thing to do, and it was the best way to save lives, and it's, the sensible thing to do is to stay home to stop the virus spreading, even though that's probably the best thing to do, it just shows the amount of the lack of power we have in decision making in our own country. that we can just get told stuff and that's how it happens. So stuff like that makes me really wonder, like what we could be told and how our lives can quickly change just like that. One minute we could be living in a democracy and have freedom and stuff, and then the next minute we're stuck at home and fighting an invisible disease. And it just feels like someone else is in control of all this. And I know technically the disease is a human, infection. It's part of nature and is none of our doing. So nobody made this disease. So it's not really anybody in control of the situation. It's us reacting to it. But it just gives us a sense of how insignificant we can be in how things are governed and how our whole country is as a whole. Peter repeats here daily. We'll see about the daily part, but it's just ridiculous at just how things can be expected of us, and we just follow the rules. And I think things could get out of hand. So, for example, in Hungary, the Prime Minister passed a bill to give him dictatorship level power, unrestricted, unlimited power to help fight the coronavirus for an undetermined amount of time until he and 2/3 of the part of the Congress sign off that it can return back to normal. Now the Hungarian Prime Minister can just do what he likes. It's a dictatorship. So just like that, like we're told to just stay at home and we don't have any power over that. In Hungary, they're just suddenly under a democratic disguising a dictatorship. And through a democratic process, somebody's just becoming a king and complete power over a whole nation. So all these things that impact our lives and the regulations and politics of everything, you just realise at times like this how little influence we have and how things can quickly change and how our whole world can be turned before our eyes and we have no impact and the world is just controlled by other powers, other people, disconnected, so removed from us you couldn't believe. And even the president, even the prime minister is only a small part of a big machine, and it's hard to have any grip on a situation when there's so much going on. And just like the world is in chaos, our lives are so disconnected from how our lives are governed, and that's its own special type of chaos when we can't control our lives and you can never have true freedom if you're living in a world where things are decided for you, when you have to pay the bills, you have to go to work and you have to buy food from the supermarkets and you have to learn to drive, and all these things are just dictated for us and we do them, and the jobs are there and then we learn how to do the jobs, and things are just dictated for us. It's difficult to have true freedom. And even in a world where I'm staying at home and I quite like staying at home and watching podcasts, I don't have freedom truly, because YouTube influences me to pick the right videos, and the podcast can say what they like and I listen to it and I probably get brainwashed. I'm probably repeating Joe Rogan right now because I'm like that. I watch something, I take the ideas, oh that's good, I'll bring it into my own. So some of these things I've heard about, but it's just like it's difficult to find true freedom in life. Even when we live in a free society, things are basically in place for us. Even if you choose to do a certain degree, you don't decide what you do in the degree, you just decide to do the degree. And when you get given the job, you don't decide what the job does, you just do the job. And just so many things are disconnected from our free will. And I just have this overriding sense that we are like free beings, always imprisoned by structures and concepts and way of life and mechanisms that have been in place for years, and the people that have control over that collectively control it, but they don't individually have any true say over it. And even if there was somebody who had control over everything, they're only reacting to the natural laws of the universe. So I like to live freely, and I like to do what I want, but you never really truly do live freely. And I probably feel freer than I've ever done living at home, not going to a job or not studying. I'm probably freer than I'll ever be. But the entertainment that I consume, the books that I read, the programs I watch, they're written for me. What I decide to spend my time on, apart from the small choice that I might think I have choosing what to watch when really just things are recommended for me, whatever freedom I think I have, I'm choosing to consume my entertainment by content that's been decided for me. So even when I feel freest, you can argue that I'm not truly free. And then the people who have done it go to work every day. You're not free. You're doing that job. That's your job. That's how you earn your money. And just freedom is just such a core essence of being human. And I think it makes you feel good about yourself. And we live in a world that's less free than you can possibly imagine. And the freest of us are still imprisoned by something. And that's one of the reasons why I don't really like money and stuff, because it just traps us to always think about a concept that we're not in control of and is just decided for us, sort of thing. Money just forces you to be part of a capitalism and forces you to play by the rules and do this to get this and get the job to earn you the money, to get you the money to buy the food, and you're just part of a system. And I think that we should have a society where, one, we feel in control of what we do, and two, we have freedom to pursue things freely and do things we like, basically. And I feel a sense of freedom when I can spend my time how I like, but it's not always like that. And I just think people should have more freedom in their lives, be much more happier. I don't think there should be money constraining everybody to live a certain way and to follow the rules of a free market and have to earn for their living. I don't think that's a necessary part of life, and it's not. And we could just do things we genuinely like the technology could get so good that everything's automated that we could literally spend lives that we fully want to do. And that's all I ever really want. And that's part of the reason why I'm studying this computing course, because I want a job that's more suited to me and more creative, and that's all I want. But really, I'll probably just get a better version of what I had before, and it won't ever be perfect because I'll be doing things for other people. So what started me talking about freedom like that is the lack of freedom when I see the government telling us what to do. And we live in a society where we think we have freedom, when really, when push comes to shove, we get told and put in our place. You do this when we say and how we say. And I want to live freely, listen to podcasts, and I'm going to do that today and tomorrow and probably the next day and for the next 2 months, 7 months. I don't know what it will be like, but yeah. So yeah, I just don't know what I'm saying, but there's such we don't have power over our lives, and I just think freedom just grants you that happiness and gives you that sense of ease, and we can live in a world where we focus on that. and we focus on doing things we genuinely like, where everybody, instead of being in the office and looking at a screen and spreadsheets all day and moving stuff around, copying, pasting, and writing and stuff like that, and even the job that I want to do, like creating software and stuff, instead of doing that every day, we can do what we genuinely want, and we can be creative, we can write stories, we can talk about our lives with other people, and we can socialize, and we can share, and we can be content creators for other people to enjoy, and everyone can have their own little podcast where they talk about their life stories, and you can find out about how everybody lives and how everybody operates, and we can live in a free creative society where all of our purposes are decided by us and not by some system which is disconnected from what it means to be truly free and feel like a proper person. Because when I've had it before at work, I just felt like I wasn't a person, I wasn't free, and I want to feel like that. And to do that, I have to make the best of a situation and listen to Joe Rogan and Russell Brand and The Fighter and the Kid, and just listen to people that I like. And hopefully I can do creative pursuits as my day-to-day life, and hopefully everyone can do that, but that might never happen. And it might well be that society, with this coronavirus, needs to collapse like this in order for us to find something better. Because I don't think working 9 to 5 in something you don't really truly have passion for is a way to spend your working life. And the fact that people look forward to their pensions is really quite sad. You're looking forward to the end of your life, and we need to live in a world where we look forward to the present and live there freely. Thank you for watching. That's my little update of the coronavirus and my little rant about everything. I hope you enjoyed it, and watch out on my channel. I might be live tomorrow sometime or on the next day, and you can always catch up on ones you haven't watched. My recommendation is just to watch the more recent ones, because I got the audio and microphone and everything better working now. I talked a lot in other episodes, but you couldn't hear me very well, but they're still there if you want to watch them. But keep up with the what you're doing, and hopefully you do it freely and be happy and enjoy other podcasts as well. Thank you for watching my podcast or listening. Thank you. Bye for now.